Welcome, everyone, to the Insurance Perspectives Podcast. On today's show, we have Peggy Corbett of Agency Transformation. Peggy has over 30 years of experience as a professional agency owner. She owned and operated one of the largest independent insurance agencies in Los Angeles and Ventura counties, which used HawkSoft for 17 years, if you'll permit a momentary humble brag. She is vastly experienced in large volume production in both the personal and commercial lines, and carrier relations with 40-plus insurance companies. Peggy is a dedicated and tenacious hands-on consultant with a reputation for consummate professionalism and exemplary ethics, and is capable of restructuring existing operations to achieve greater effectiveness and increase bottom-line profits and retention. In 2017, she created Agency Transformation with a mission to transform insurance agencies to realize their full potential by giving them the tools to increase sales and retention and deliver a systematic way to sustain growth. Peggy loves to travel with her husband of 25 years and their 2 college-age children. Jeff let me know that you have one child who's at the University of Edinburgh, which is awesome. I love that city. Recently was there, and now that's all my Instagram feed is. Peggy's family also enjoys many other activities like skiing, camping, motorcycle riding, and spending time with the family dogs, Sadie and Bailey. That is an extremely important point to us here at a very pro-dog podcast. Peggy, I just wanted to say thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate your time. I have some core memories in my early career at HawkSoft, and one of them is getting to spend a dinner with you and Linda Anderson, one of our territory managers, talking about the industry, your business, what it's like to be an agent, really core memories. And I was wondering if you would mind kicking us off. I'd love to know how you moved from being an agency owner to being a consultant for agencies.
I had my agency for it was about 25, 26 years. And when I had the opportunity to sell it, dear friend of ours, of HawkSoft in general, Chris Lejeune, who Chris and I had known each other for probably 25 years, something like that, actually took me out to lunch and said, now what? What are you going to do? And I said, I don't know. Don't know. And he goes, I've got an idea. So I give full credit to him. He then got me reintroduced to Paul and Sean after vetting me and knowing what it was that I wanted to bring to the table. They allowed me to become a partner of HawkSoft, and I'm very, very grateful for that.
Oh, we're grateful that you trust us enough to associate with us, and we haven't scared you away yet. Thank you so much for being here. We have a set of questions that we want to dive into, so I'm just gonna hit the ground running with the very first one. Let's start with a scenario. An agency owner reaches out to you and they want help in revitalizing their business process. What topics are you going to explore with them first?
This is something that we do all the time. The first thing that I typically will get in with them is discussing their Ivans downloads. It's surprising to me how many agents aren't familiar with their Ivans downloads and haven't checked in to look at their connections report in quite a while. Typically, when I get in with an agency, I can find 25, maybe up to 50% more downloads than what they're currently taking in, just because carriers are constantly improving what is available through those downloads, and they will sit there almost stagnant in the Ivans connections. And unless we say we want them, they're not going to start. So that's the first place that we always start. From there, we would take that information, go to the carrier download page that's within HawkSoft, and make sure that they're looking at all the carriers that are available to them. I'm going to use Chubb as an example. If you go into the carrier download page and you type in the word Chubb, you're not only going to find Chubb as an insurance company, but you're also going to find the MGAs that represent Chubb now. So MGAs are now also downloading, and a lot of agents aren't aware of that. Once we fine-tune what downloads are coming in, and just a shout out to Ivans. If you haven't worked with the folks at Ivans, give them a call. Set an appointment on their website. They are wonderful to deal with and will help you walk you through the process of your downloads. Once we go there, Then we get into the download configuration, or the download dashboard as it's now called in HawkSoft 6, and set those downloads to do what our intent is to do with them, making sure that they are going in HawkSoft 5 a suspense category, in HawkSoft 6 a task category, and in HawkSoft 6 the lovely task templates that we love so much. Once that's done, then we start setting their processes and procedures of what their philosophy is for the agency.
Ivans is a main infrastructure of our industry and does a lot to facilitate carrier downloads and the transaction of information. Hugely important. So it sounds like you start by kind of dusting off the technology they already have access to.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. At the forefront, I mean, Ivans and HawkSoft is the base, and all of the technology that we can stack on top of it is wonderful. But if we don't have that base set and doing what we want it to do, kind of what's the point?
Yeah. Yeah. No, and I totally appreciate that because agencies are already invested in those infrastructures. They're already invested in that technology. And so let's get that working first. Let's get the car you're in running and clean and detailed. And then let's talk about the best way to drive down the road. With that in mind, what agency processes do you think can be entrusted to technology to take care of? Like what can we automate? What can we trust to a computer to handle in your experience?
I think most of it in some shape or form. I mean, obviously, agencies still need to service work. We still need to do endorsements. We still need to work non-renewals. We still need to process new business. And unfortunately, in this day and age, we still need to work our up rates. We are in the hardest market that I've ever seen in my career across the country. So that is something that's just taking over agencies' time that it really can't be automated. So depending on automation for the mundane tasks, claims, processing renewals, some retention, cancellation, reinstatement handlings, knowing the reasons also, I think, speaking about retention, of why clients are leaving the agency, not just price, but actually why they're leaving the agency, I think is very, very important to know, because that information can then get fed into your CRM, so the CRM knows what to do with it. You know, if someone has gone out of business or has sold the property, it's not something we want to feed into our CRM for future campaigns. So they all go, hand in hand with each other. Other things that I think that technology can help with, maybe not do 100% of, is account reviews. I think account reviews are probably one of the most important things that agents can be doing at this point. We need to be touching our clients. We need to be speaking with them. We need to be educating them what this market is and why we are suffering through this hard market. And I think the only way we can do that is by one-on-one contacting them. I always give a little analogy when I'm talking to my agents, my clients, about account reviews is, I'm your perfect client. I probably have 5 or 6 policies. I was with an agent, and that agent never spoke to me because I paid my bills on time. I never had a claim, and I processed my endorsements on Nationwide's website, which is who I was insured with. So they never spoke to me. I was with them for 3 years, and they never spoke to me. Guess what? I called that agency and I said, I'm leaving you. And they said, why? I said, because you don't even know who I am. You've never made an attempt to get to know me or get to know what I needed, what my insurance needs were. Was I adequately protected? So every time I'm speaking with an agent, we need to be in contact with our clients.
In my perspective, being successful in insurance as a salesperson qualifies you as being a pretty good salesperson. It is a competitive market. You have to know how to effectively engage with people. It always is amusing when they can't apply that to their own. From my perspective, it's amusing for a technology salesperson who can't see that in their client. And so, it's also amusing when you have an agency or an insurance professional that doesn't do that follow through to their insureds. Obviously, you want what's best for your insureds, but it's super easy for them to be like, maybe there's something better if I don't know who I'm working with at all.
Exactly. Yeah. And especially, like I said, in this very difficult market that we're in. It's unprecedented. I'm sitting here in Southern California, and we're having carriers leave the state. They can't get out of here fast enough, and rates are going up 35%, and non-renewals are happening across the board, and everyone's having to go onto our fair plan policy. So we owe it to clients to educate them as to why this is happening, and I feel that's part of the whole account review. Can that be automated? It can be systematically helped along the way, but then at the end of it, we need that live interaction with them. My humble opinion.
Yeah. So, in your experience, you're saying, and you're seeing that the successful agencies they have a system and automation in place to get them to that touch point with the client.
Yes.
So that
exactly.
they're maybe equipped with the information, but then they pick up the phone, they make the phone call, they go out for coffee.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Precisely. I also think that a lot of what technology can also help with is just streamlining the quoting process. I always get asked by agents, it just feels, again, I'm sitting here in California. We can't use comparative raters in California right now. We have to rate on our carriers' websites. So in comes HawkLink, and I'm sure we'll be talking about HawkLink in more detail as we go through this, but in comes HawkLink, and that's what we need to use as agents here. But there's also a lot of quoting tools that we can use, and I know a lot of these are partners of HawkSoft and probably found on the partners page, but things like Canopy Connect and Fizz and Insured Mine and Gravity Forms and all those type of things that can help bring the data to us so that we're not having to chase after that information as much as we used to have to.
Yeah, absolutely. And I appreciate you bringing up HawkLink, the formal title, so I don't get chased off by marketing. HawkLink for Google Chrome, our
sorry.
latest version of it's a data fill tool for folks that aren't familiar. Highly encourage everybody to go to hawksoft.com/HawkLink to learn more. The long and short of it is you train it to put data into a website, and you go to that website and it fills data in. It's also crowdsourced, so we have 500 plus websites already mapped today. And if you go to one of those mapped websites, like foragentsonly.com or something like that, which is my go-to example, because if
Mine
agents
too.
are listening, they'll know exactly what I'm talking about. If non-insurance people are listening, hi mom, they they won't get it. But you go to a carrier website, it's probably been mapped by a HawkSoft customer or HawkSoft working with the carrier themselves, and that data, policy information, client information, underwriting information is going to go where it needs to go. A lot of times we hear from agencies that they use only 10% of a piece of technology. Or they use 10% of HawkSoft. It's a very common thing we hear. What strategies can agencies use to utilize? My question says, what strategies can agencies use to utilize the other 90%? I don't want to set that ambitious goal. How do they start increasing that percentage?
I think automation, obviously. Automation can free the team up to focus on what we're actually paying our team to do, which is to service and sell, taking those mundane tasks away from them. It's funny you say the 90-10% because I was actually at one of the national conferences. I was speaking with Sean Hawkins, and he's like, how's it going out there? How are you finding the agents? How are they, interacting with HawkSoft? What is it that, you're in there? And I'm like, Sean, I'm finding that probably about 80% of agencies are using about 20% of HawkSoft. And he goes, that high, you think? So your 90-10 is maybe what Sean had in mind. I think strategies that agencies use is I think they need to refer to the partners page that HawkSoft has and see all the integrated partners that HawkSoft has two-way integration with now or supporting and working with. Insurance gig. I know that you did a segment with them. I think about a year ago I saw it, and I think that's just a wonderful avenue to support agents so that they can. You can speak on insurance gig much better than I can if you want to take just a brief second.
Sure. So insurance gig is what they would call like a service ecosystem to connect microservices, things like premium finance quoting or PDF scanning to ingest the data. They do little, for a while they called them recipes, where they had these little pieces of functionality that were tied together to produce really impressive results. And I sincerely appreciate you bringing up the partners page. My day job is overseeing that. And so I do encourage people to review it. We put a lot of hard work into making sure it's, I always call it the Macy's window. We going back to that idea that insurance folks are the best salespeople you ever meet. We recognize when we're getting put into a sales funnel. And so our partner page is kind of meant to keep you out of the sales funnel until you're ready. And so we try to give as much information as possible, including demo videos of how things work. Yeah, and I agree, because I think that a lot of times agencies will hit a pain point, and in their frustration, they'll assume if this is a pain point and I have a piece of technology, the technology doesn't solve for it. And so then they go look for a different management system or a different platform or a different industry that doesn't have the issue. But I think they would do themselves a lot of favors to investigate what they already have and explore, like, okay, if I have this pain point, let me validate that my current system doesn't do this. My current tech stack doesn't solve this problem.
Yeah. I mean, let's face it, HawkSoft has its limitations on what functionality is designed for. And when I had my agency, I referred to that partners page often. What can I do to complement what I already have going? And that's the idea of it. I love the Macy's storefront window. And again, I've spoken about Ivans. I think strategy, get with your Ivans people, get your downloads going well. And then last but not least, again, I'm going to do a shout out, go to your hug conferences, go to your regionals, go to your nationals, talk to other agents. Okay, you're going to get wonderful, wonderful feedback from people who are in the same trenches that you are. So that's just always has been a huge one.
Every fall, the HawkSoft User Group does regional meetings. They're usually 6 to 8 smaller meetings across the country that are easier to travel to, easier to send staff to. And then every spring, we do a national conference. As of the recording of this, and likely the release, there are tickets available for the national conference in 2025. Hug at sea. We're taking to the sea. We're going on a cruise. And so that's going to be a great opportunity. It's going to be on par with some of our early post-pandemic conferences that were not quite the quantity of people, but a high quality conversation is going to absolutely happen on that cruise. And it's going to be a great opportunity to spend a lot of quality time with peers and HawkSoft people. I will be there. You can come find me. But also, more importantly, folks like Paul Hawkins, our CEO, Sean Hawkins, our Chief Product Officer, co-founders of the company, and other folks from our C-suite, other folks from our management team, and across all departments. And most importantly, other HawkSoft users, because I think friends of the show will know that before I was at HawkSoft, I was an educator, and we've known for a long time in education that students learn more from their peers than they do from their instructors. And having a space where you can say, like, oh, you used HawkSoft for 17 years in a real agency? Tell me your secrets. Tell me what worked. Tell me what didn't work. I think that's really important to have those conversations.
A lot of times I will get referrals to us that are non-HawkSoft users, and one of the things they always ask me is, well, why should I pick HawkSoft? And aside from the fact that it's intuitive, it's easy to use, of course I'm very, very partial. I use it in my own agency and now I consult for it. But I always like to tell them, do you think you'd ever get to pick up the phone and speak with the CEO, the founders of Vertifor? It's not going to happen. Do you think that there's such a community where we can give our input, to how things are running, to the community board, especially in HawkSoft 6 with suggestions? And those are real changes that are happening. I mean, I'm constantly in there because, my hands are in there doing the setup and behind the scenes, and constantly in there making suggestions. And a week later, there's my suggestion. It's a new feature in HawkSoft. So I just don't think that any other program evolves the way HawkSoft does. But again, I'm a little bit biased.
I sincerely appreciate that. we spend a lot of time in the show not talking about HawkSoft. So it's
Oh,
kind of
sorry.
nice to, no, you're totally fine. It is very nice to have an opportunity to actually speak about our system. Um, we do it consciously. And so as a little treat to our listeners, we're gonna spend a lot of time on HawkSoft in this episode, and that's by design. Um, what I will say, I want to give a shout out to our product and dev team. Um, Peggy,
Absolutely.
folks like yourself and other users have been using, we have this thing called HawkSoft Community, which is a good old-fashioned message board for getting suggestions into the system. Our customer success team moderates that channel, and they process all of those. We're probably at a point where it's like we've had 600 plus suggestions made on there, and we've implemented about 125, 150 of them. It was a lot cleaner about a month ago. We had about 500 suggestions. We had over like 550, and we had implemented 100 of them, which was a really cool milestone. So about 1 in 5 are making it into the system. A lot of them are being consolidated and brought in elsewhere. We do care a lot, and it's because we get to have these conversations with real agents, and we're software people. We know software. We know how to design towards a solution. Our secret is always listening for the pain point and the appropriate solution from agents. Okay, I want to pick your brain about technology in the agencies. So we've touched on it a bit, touched on process too, but including or in addition to anything we've talked about so far, what technology is standing out to you today that complements a management system or is beneficial to an agency?
Okay, I'm going to just do one more shout out to HawkLink. I mean,
Okay.
again, it's one of those things that I find that most agents aren't familiar with. So
Yeah.
if you are not using HawkLink in your agency right now, and a huge shout out, if I can say, to Jerry Fox, the Vice
Oh
President
yeah.
of Carrier Relations over at HawkSoft. The fact that HawkLink can help you with your quote export function is just amazing. Again, sitting here in California, agents cannot really use comparative raters. The mapping that Kenny has already spoken of when you go out to carriers. And then, of course, the wonderful HawkSoft virtual printer. And so,
Mm-hmm.
again, I'm working with agents, and when I say HawkLink, they say Hawk what? And so, it's one of those tools that I think is so underutilized by agents. So I'm going to bring that up again. And
Yeah.
I'm probably going to need some help with explaining some of these other things because
Sure.
maybe not in my wheelhouse, but there's things like I just did. Whenever an agent tells me about something that they're using, I reach out to them and I try to do a demo with them and I explain to them what my position is. I'm not an agent.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to buy it. I just want to know
Yeah.
more about it. And I'm gonna botch this name. Alleviant? Are you familiar with
Oh
it?
yes.
Okay,
Elviant,
so
I believe.
okay, good. Thank you. One of us may have gotten it right.
Sure.
So one of my agents is using it, and basically it's a chat bot. And
Mm-hmm.
it was designed, started off to do commission reconciliation. And literally, they showed me how it can go. You can program it to go in and do all your reconciliation of your downloaded commissions. But beyond
Mm.
that, it can also sign in to your carriers that don't give the downloaded commission statements and grab the exported Excel
Oh wow.
file, and then it can bring it in, and that's called a custom import for those of you that don't do your commission reconciliation. We can custom import that into HawkSoft, and the bot can then reconcile those for you. I mean, I don't
Yeah.
know about other agents, but my team knew that it was time for me to do commission reconciliations once a month. When I had my agency, I shut my door, and I came out very, very grumpy. Okay, it was very, very time consuming. So having anything that can, help with that mundane process as we're speaking about it, but a very necessary process, obviously, to
Yeah.
get our team paid. These bots are also, I've got one agent that is using it for, they've tailor made bots for him to handle his cancellation process and his claims process. And all of this
Mm-hmm.
is beyond my little brain, but, to me, it's fascinating and, to take
Yeah.
advantage of something like that. There's other ones out there that stand out to me, things like Neon, Be Atomic, and I know that that's
Yeah.
also a partner of HawkSoft right now. You can probably speak on it better than
Yeah.
I am, but it's it's a customer interaction evaluation, and it also evaluates employee performance, time consumed when employees are doing certain type of tasks, things that give us all that information beyond. Right now in HawkSoft we can do activity reporting. But this neon be atomic to me is just, again, one of those
Yeah.
fascinating things. I would have loved to have this as a tool in my agency.
Yeah, Neon is a really impressive platform. I always struggle to define it because
Me
of
too.
how just unique it is. Often I categorize it as business intelligence because it analyzes processes and essentially the ROI on a process. So, what is the cost to the agency for someone to process a claim? If they're doing workflow A versus workflow B, which one is more efficient? Which one is more cost effective for the agency? How do you coach towards a better, like, how do you coach the people that are leaning on process A, which costs you $5 a process versus process B, which is only $3.50? How do you get everybody to embrace process B? They've also just started introducing transactional virtual assistance work where the intent there is instead of they have a service center, and instead of paying like a full-time virtual assistant, they're looking at paying for the work accomplished and kind of making sure that you're focused on efficiency versus their argument is that oftentimes if you're not using your staff to their full potential and you bring on a VA to cover for that, you're probably not going to use them to their full potential either. Listeners can look forward to season 3. We've already booked that for recording, so we'll be talking with Seth Zarimba and a customer. I work with quite a few partners at this point that are doing custom development for agencies around the bot space. Hopefully a shepherd's crook doesn't come from either side to yank me off. But I think a certain generation of insurance professionals and carrier reps were very opposed to bots and scripted processes. I won't say the S word that scares a lot of carriers away, but I think they're solving for a huge pain point in legacy technology being bridged into contemporary workflows and contemporary systems. So Alleviant, it is a hard one to say. There's a great company out of Oregon here called Lava Automation that does something similar for agencies, and I've encountered companies like We Build Zaps that use Zapier to do it. It's almost in the same sense of AI, one of the more exciting emerging technology fields in the insurtech space.
Yeah, absolutely. And then there's companies like Donna, which I was always been fascinated with what Donna can do, and the fact that they have an algorithm to do the centimeter to see how your clients are feeling. Are they happy, or does it come across that they're upset with something, which you can usually tell, but and I love the fact that for cross-selling, again, I'm going to botch this up because I don't know enough about it, but the fact that it can read, if someone's going out to out to Google and they're looking, I might buy a boat, and it can then take that information and bring it back into the agency to say, maybe we have a cross-sell opportunity here for this client who might be interested in buying this boat. So again, to me, all fascinating beyond my little brain, but
one of our early episodes with Thomas Mann and Rob Bowen about Donna and how it's used in an agency. People can go back to listen to the season 1 episode about that. We'll put a link in the show notes. From your perspective, working with the agencies you work with, your experience in the industry, what piece of technology does an agency need? Like, what is the one starting block that they need to focus on?
I think every agency is different. I think they need to prioritize the platform that's going to be the most important to them to achieve their goals. Obviously, I'm going to bring it back to HawkSoft. HawkSoft needs to be an integral part of that. And the team needs to be well-versed and running, at full optimization in HawkSoft. I like to say we need to walk before we can run. Too many times I come into an agency that they've got a CRM, they've got this, they've got that, they've got everything, but they're not using any one of them proficiently. So I think the idea of getting proficient in your management system, whatever management system, but we're talking about HawkSoft, that's where we need to focus on. And again, we are in this crazy evolving landscape of an insurance industry right now. And so, the changes that have occurred not only in the marketplace, but in technology since I sold my agency 7 years ago is just astounding. So I
Yeah.
don't know that there's one piece that, I mean, I believe when people ask me, should I have a CRM? Should I use, and again, I'm not getting paid to mention any names here, but should I use Agency Zoom, Insured Mind, Agency Revolution? I don't know. I don't know which one fits best with your agency. Is that the most integral piece, in my opinion, to complement HawkSoft? Yeah,
Hmm.
I think that CRM is definitely it.
If an agency was going to look at agency transformation to work with you, um, do you have a preference in the kind of agency you want to work with? Like, do you like sales focused organizations, or do you have a preference towards like maybe slow growth referral based agencies? Do you distinguish that way, or do you help everyone?
I think I don't really distinguish that way. It's definitely a different approach that we would take to each of
Mm-hmm.
those agencies. Agencies that, I have so many agencies that are on high acquisition mode right now. And
Mm-hmm.
so those type of agencies, we are, it's fast and furious, and we concentrate heavily on data, because as those agencies are acquiring all these different agencies, we have to look at the data to make sure the data makes sense, so we are constantly doing data reviews and data cleanups with the agencies that are doing a lot of acquisitions or in high growth mode. HawkSoft has always said garbage in, garbage out. So, and if we have garbage in our management system, then we have garbage in our CRM, then we have garbage in this. So I
Yeah.
think that's important. Slow growth. I love working with the younger agents. I've just brought on a couple of very small agents that are just starting out, and to me, that's kind of my heartstrings. I like to
Yeah.
mentor the younger agents and give some of the experience that I have. And also just the nuances of dealing with the insurance carriers and making sure that you're keeping strong carrier relations. Some of these younger agents, or some even experienced agents, they think, oh, the more carriers I bring into my agency, the better I am. No, you have to, feed the ones that are feeding you back. Having
Yeah.
40 carriers, which was very doable when I had my agency, 7, 10 years ago, very doable. But nowadays we have to support the carriers that are supporting us, and know what
Mm-hmm.
our market is. I also think that, we've spoken about what a hard market we're in, and remarkets that are at an all-time high. I am not a big fan of remarketing. I talk to my agents about it. When we do any kind of remarketing, we open ourselves up not only for um, making the client more price centric, and also giving them the idea, oh, maybe I should shop it on my own, but we also open ourselves up for an E&O. Okay, the
Mm-hmm.
one and only E&O I had in my agency, one of my producers did a remarket and left a very vital coverage off of the policy, and that vital coverage was called earthquake. Lo and
Oh
behold,
wow.
we had an earthquake. Okay, so it was a very large E&O. So
Yeah.
again, not a fan of remarkets, and I think that, again, we talk about account reviews, keeping our clients, again, well educated, to what this market is that we're dealing with right now.
I would love to give you an opportunity. Is there anything else you think an agency owner, an agency office admin, um, should know or should be thinking about when they start to think about technology versus process? When they start to think about, hey, should I go reach out to a consultant? Should I bring somebody in? What else? What haven't we covered yet? What feels important that a listener should know before we close this out?
I just think it's, profitability and productivity are tied in with so closely with the service costs. Service costs,
Mm-hmm.
again, are through the roof. So anything that we can do to automate that
Mm-hmm.
service part of it. And again, I'm going to refer back to the partners page. I'm not doing this just because I like Kenny so much, but going back to that partners page and see what tech stack works for you, and make sure
Yeah.
that you're utilizing it to its full capabilities. Throwing everything at this fire is not going to put the fire out. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
we need to use what we bring into the agency, making sure that we're completely utilizing it to its full capabilities.
I really appreciate that. Um, I definitely hope that our listeners seek you out for further conversations. People should listen to this episode twice. We've covered a lot of ground in a short amount of time. And Peggy, I'm so grateful for your time. We're going to put ways to contact you in the episode descriptions or episode notes for folks that are listening to Apple Podcasts. Thank you so much for being here with us today and talking to us about technology and process and HawkLink, which everybody should go check out. Thank you for watching today's episode. Click the video description below to learn more about our guests and to view the latest podcast episode as well as other content from HawkSoft. We appreciate you watching and hope you join us next time on the Insurance Perspectives Podcast. Thank you.